Now, one phrase you're going to be seeing a lot of between the 1st and 7th day of this month from those Facebook friends from school that are your friends yet you never interacted with is the phrase New Year, New Me. And you just know they're talking out of their posteriors. But where that phrase will be said and will actually stick is in Formula 1, because it's time for the eagerly awaited 2022 regulations, the introduction of which was delayed by about 12 months or so due to the current global kerfuffle. So why the changes? And will they actually work? When the FIA and Liberty Media unveiled the concept car for 2022, I had a little bit of a look at it in a video, but thought I'd revisit it all to see what the actual key differences are and whether or not this will actually do as intended, or if we're just going to see the same stuff but on a different day, with a more constant rule change in the name of improving the show. And I say that because this is the third time in 10 years we've seen major rule changes that drastically alter the shapes of the cars. Now, on your screen I've put up as many cars as I can find from different years from sort of the mid-90s to the mid-2000s. You can see that they're pretty much evolutions of what came before. There are subtle changes such as the narrow track introduced for 1998, the grooves that were also introduced in 1998, but you can still see that the Ferrari F2004 is an evolution of its 2002 and 2000 predecessors. But like I say, give or take for subtle changes to things like driver safety and reducing cornering speeds. And now we have the car shapes that have been in service just in the last 10 years. We've got the 2013 Williams, the 2015 Williams, the 2017 Williams, and the 2022 Williams, which, as of the publishing of this video, is just a concept. Four vastly different shapes. That's a lot of money spent, and it makes you wonder how the grid might have closed up by now if they'd left the 2014 style cars as they were, because of the laws of diminishing returns and all of that. With 2017, all the teams got a reset, including Mercedes. And that's another part of it. Money. The hybrid engines, let's be honest, have been a bit expensive, and teams will have spent big for 2014 to then need to spend big again for 2017, so they don't get left behind. And while Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari can spend their way out of a hole, albeit a little more difficult to do now with the cost caps, teams like Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams will be left where they are, or they'll go backwards as gambles to pull off a cheap hack in terms of development go nowhere. And that's why we saw teams like McLaren, Haas and even Mercedes, as much as people don't believe that, not really putting much time and effort into the 2021 cars because of the new regulations coming in for 2022. The money and time and R&D would have been better served building something that would actually get a return on that investment, rather than spending lots of money on something that's just going to be obsolete by December. Like I said, I know some people don't believe that bit about Mercedes, but if your mind's already made up, I won't confuse you with facts. So now we've covered the why, let's look at the what. What are the key differences between these new cars and what we've seen for the last 5 years? Well, using the magic of sim racing, I can at least give you an idea. Now, Racing Studios has been pumping out cars for Assetto Corsa since 2017, and a link to their shop will be in the description box for you. But instead of building a knockoff McLaren or a knockoff Ferrari, they actually take the rulebook and build the car to the rulebook. So what you get is a car that would actually be legally allowed to compete in a Formula 1 Grand Prix, which is actually pretty cool. So out with the old and in with the new. We've now got something that looks vastly different. Gone are the barge boards and other intricate aerodynamic devices, and instead we're left with something much, much cleaner. A bit like how when we went from 2008 to 2009. The powers that be want the downforce to come from the underside of the car, so for the first time in nearly 40 years, we return to cars utilising ground effect. Although the ground effect we're getting here is closer to the IndyCar stuff than the cars of about 1981 with those side skirts and sealing off the body of the car entirely. What we've got is Venturi tunnels under the car that act in such a way that the car will be sucked to the ground as opposed to relying on topside aero, so front, rear wings, barge boards, top side of the floor, so on. So in theory, this will reduce the dreaded dirty air and allow for the cars to follow closer and race closer. Again, in theory. So that means that DRS is going to go away. Great, no more fake overtaking. Well, it's still in the rules that DRS will still be a thing, and it's still allowed. However, the FIA basically reserves the right to use it where needed, so it might be a case that these regulations are so brilliant we'll never need DRS again, although they might still turn it on at tracks like Hungary, or at tracks like Monaco where overtaking is a lot more difficult. At somewhere like Silverstone, it might not be needed at all, although they might still turn it on in qualifying because of lap times, but that's not been confirmed yet. The wheelbase has also changed. Great? Not necessarily. These new cars are limited to 3.6 metres in length, but that's still almost the length of a family saloon. In fact, last year's Mercedes was longer than the road-going S-Class. If we overlay Lewis Hamilton's first Formula 1 car with his most recent Formula 1 car, the 2021 car is stupid long by comparison. It makes the cars look sluggish, even though last year's cars were massively faster than what was used in 2007. Even so, Craig Scarber reckons that teams like Mercedes, who are using the longest cars on the grid, will have their car be around 10 centimetres shorter. But while that sounds great, on the flip side, and most annoyingly of all, at the start of December the FIA announced that the minimum weight was going to be jacked up by around 50 kilos, meaning that cars will be around 840 kilograms dry. Car and driver. Put the race fuel in, and we're looking at cars nudging a ton come race start. The cars will also now be running on 18-inch Pirelli tyres with lower profiles compared to what's come before, which is not only an aesthetic choice by the FIA, but it means that the teams will be spending less on R&D, because these tyres don't flex as much and will therefore be much easier to simulate, and these are also the same rims and tyres currently used in Formula 2. In addition, the suspension will be totally redesigned to accommodate these tyres, and it's thought the suspension assembly will become simpler as a result. Also on the wheels will be these covers last seen in around 2009 or 2010, and these are also to try and reduce dirty air. The display panels are in the rulebook, but it's not sure whether we'll actually see them working in a race weekend yet. So will it actually work, and will F1 be saved? Well, who really knows at this point? We've already seen that Mercedes and others didn't really do a lot with their cars to try and focus on the new regulations, and Mercedes did tease a shot of the new car the other day, but obviously people will want to see someone other than Hamilton or Verstappen on the top step of the podium every week. Ferrari will be itching to get forward and get more into the podium places or even get wins. You've got McLaren, who could get a little bit further forward, and maybe Williams as well, with Albon and Latifi consistently getting into the lower portion of the top 10 and getting more points and stuff. And if we do have a Brawn GP moment with one of the lower teams at the front, it will be a great novelty to have. But if it's the usual suspects once again, and if Mercedes have gone and built an absolute weapon again, then how long will it be before the next knee-jerk rule change that will no doubt be to improve the show? A line that was thrown around a lot last year in regards to some of the questionable stewards' calls, but that's a whole subject else entirely. The important thing is, we give it time. It's not going to be a quick fix. Nothing ever is. With Formula 1 trapped behind paywalls, the sport wants its viewers to get its money's worth, but at the same time you can't mess up the sport in the name of entertainment, which is another line used a lot. These rules might fix it in the first round, but it might take a couple of years for proper stability to come around. And stability in the regulations will be the key to keeping the stability of the competition. Let's see what happens. So then, a look at what the 2022 changes are and what they might mean for the sport going forward. What do you think about it all? Do you like the look of these cars? Do you hate the look of them? Obviously, they are going to change beyond the RSS concept and what was shown at Silverstone, but let's see what happens. Should they have left the rules in the way that it was and just let everybody else catch up? Leave any thoughts in the comment section under this video and get a discussion going. This has been more of a Motorsport Explained episode, but there is elements of pressing issues in there as well. But, like I say, leave any thoughts under this video. And while scrolling down, why not subscribe if you haven't already and get the bell on as well so you never miss out on any of my future videos. Massive thanks as always to the patrons of this channel via Patreon. If you want to join them and give me a monthly tip or just join in the Discord stuff, all links are down underneath this video with everything else. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind. Have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.